This is Comic Support, where we give new comic book readers and comic book superfans a place to jump in on the action. In this issue, we are covering Marvel's latest movie spectacular, Avengers: Infinity War. A heavy spoiler-filled conversation is straight ahead. You have been warned. Welcome to Comic Support. I'm Leon Scorpius, and we're talking about Avengers: Infinity War. It's been a few days, but we want to remind you that Thanos demands your silence. If you haven't watched the movie yet, go watch it. If you're in the room with people that haven't watched the movie yet, go grab them and go watch it as well. As always, a special thank you to Taymation Studios. You can catch all of our latest videos on this channel by subscribing. If you enjoyed this video and other Comic Support videos, please give us a like and comment below. Well, Avengers: Infinity War has a lot to unpack, so I'm gonna need some help today. Let's bring on our guests. Tay, SssuperB, welcome to Comic Support. Your reaction video was perfect because, again, I think that going into work on Friday afterwards, there's literally nothing that you can say to your coworkers about the movie without it being a spoiler. Yeah. But first off, now that you've had a few days, did you like it or did you love it?
Me personally, I've seen it twice now, so I've had my opinion of the movie change throughout the second time that I watched it. The original time that I watched it, I liked it. I absolutely did not love it. It's still not in my top like Avengers or Marvel movies. I just think that for me, I like things that are action-packed. I like having catharsis, and it was just one of those things where you don't get there almost at all. So I had a lot of issues with the film, but after seeing it a second time, I think I was able to kind of accept everything, and I had a better emotional connection with the things that happened in the movie. Whereas the first time, I think it was either the adrenaline or like how they set up the tone of the movie with, spoiler, Loki's death. You're just kind of like, you've cried wolf so many times, I'm just gonna shrug at all of these deaths because they're all probably coming back.
But for me, I loved it. Like, right from the get-go, it was my favorite Avengers movie. And
really?
It was. I mean, it's definitely better than Age of Ultron.
Well, yeah.
You know, I know we like to joke around about, the inconvenient weekend with Ultron, but this Avengers movie does have weight to it. There's a lot of weight to it, and you felt the weight at the end of the movie. We got to see it twice now, and the movie theater. Well, we saw it twice, and we saw it again just this morning. Just refresh ourselves, and again, take your friends. Everybody has to see it so that you can talk about it, but. The weight was still there, and a lot of people have mentioned this is the first Avengers movie that you don't walk out of being excited and clapping your hands and going woo. There was silence, like literally walking out was
it's like everyone just walked out.
I believe when those credits ran, the first thing I heard was what?
Yeah.
That is it.
The reason I love Avengers: Infinity War and why it's up there for me is this is the most comic book movie in my opinion. The way that the movie is structured, it feels like a comic book. And one of my favorite parts is actually in the post-credit, or in the credits, there's a whole section that says, and here are all the writers and artists and editors, etc., that influence the movie. And it's true, there's a lot of bits and pieces from the Infinity Gauntlet, from Jonathan Hickman's Infinity, with the Black Order in there, a lot of bits and pieces. And the way that they were able to successfully put every single one of those characters and give them a small arc was exactly how you would see it in a comic book. So, when you have the whole main thing happening with Thanos, that would be the main Infinity War kind of comic, a 6-issue, or nowadays sometimes they even go like 9 issues, like event comic. But then you have the split up comics. You would have like a Thor comic where it's like, oh, and here's Thor and Rocket and Groot on their adventure to go through that. Or they would have a Doctor Strange comic where it's like, oh, here's him having to protect the Time Stone. So I feel like they pieced together very well.
I agree
on that. But seeing that virtually every single Marvel Cinematic Universe character is in this movie, virtually all.
there's like two people.
There's
two movies.
Two main people that were left out.
Which I think was BS, by the way.
Who is the main character of Avengers: Infinity War?
I'd say it's Thanos.
Yeah.
Thanos is the main character of Infinity War.
And I think, I know a lot of people have said, like, oh, the Russo brothers have said that this is a Thanos movie. I don't read that kind of stuff because I don't want to spoiler myself. So I think the first time I came into it, I was like, this is going to be an Avengers movie. Yes, I know that a lot of shit's going to happen. But I think and that's why I didn't like it, but I think going in the second time, knowing that it's a Thanos movie, you almost like picture him as the anti-hero in this. Like, you don't necessarily understand or like really agree with his method, but like from
he actually has an arc.
Yeah, like
unlike some Marvel villains who are just like, I was snubbed by Tony Stark once at a party. Now I'm evil.
That was such a not one of my favorite villains.
But did they actually say it? Because I didn't read anything beforehand either. I didn't.
Yeah, there was before in the movie and interviews that there was a lot of, hey, this is a Thanos movie, FYI. I definitely think there's a huge arc with Thor. A lot of people could say that, hey, that he had a lot of screen time in this movie, and rightfully so. I mean, there's a lot of good scenes that we'll talk about. You can make the argument that Iron Man has a good arc in it as well. There's a lot of Iron Man pieces in it. It's hard to make the arc that Steve Rogers is the main character. He's in it. You see what's happening with Steve.
I feel he's in it just as much as Iron Man. Like, I think both of them took kind of a backseat to Thor and Thanos.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yep.
I think Gamora and like Star-Lord had pretty decent. I mean, everyone had a really decent story.
Again, they did an amazing job piecing together all these characters, and every character gets a decent amount of screen time.
Yeah.
So that was well done. Let's talk about the most moving scenes for you.
I think my favorite emotional scene, and honestly speaking, it's not that emotional anyway, but when Rocket says, oh, time to be the captain now, and he has that like heart-to-heart with Thor, like that hit me right in the feels.
You know, really, like the very first moment, I think that like kind of was like, whoa, what the hell? Was when Bucky vanished, because he was the first one. There was no warning. He was just like, Cap, oh, and he's gone. He was like, wait, what? What just happened? What's going on?
I agree. That's the first like, what, WTF? I could not enjoy it because Sparky would not shut up in the movie theater. That he was right.
He predicted Bucky was going to die, and then he just started like, yes, I knew. I was like, shut up. Go.
Yeah, the rest of the movie theater is silent, and Sparky's just like, yes, yes.
I called it.
We're not gonna let you live that down, Sparky. I'll tell you what my emotional impact is, and then we'll talk about what the most emotional impact scene that seems to be the consensus with everybody. And again, one of my favorite Marvel movies is Guardians of the Galaxy. So there's a couple of scenes that, you know, obviously you have this ragtag team. And again, it's so light. The first time they come on the screen, the music is coming on, they're having a good time, and that's what Guardians of the Galaxy is.
Yeah.
And you have this really lighthearted conversation at first where Star-Lord's like, hey, you know, does this grenade blow up my junk because I want to put it on my belt? And you have this really intimate scene between Gamora and Star-Lord where they're literally saying, look, Gamora knows something, and she knows that Thanos can't have what she knows. We find out that it's because that she has the location of the Soul Stone, which makes complete sense because we have till this point we had no idea where the Soul Stone is.
Everyone's theory about where it was completely wrong because it was on a planet we had never heard of or knew anything about. So you were all wrong. Just shut up already. Thank you.
Yeah, but she has this moment where she's like, you know, I need you if we're caught by Thanos, I need you to kill me. And it seems like he's like, what? You know, he's being his Peter Quill self.
Yeah.
But there's a point where she puts her hand on his mouth and she's like,
swear on your mom.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to hear this nonsense. I heard, or obviously she didn't say that, but she was like, yeah, swear on your mom that you're gonna kill me, and if something happens. And it's one of those moments that from a relationship perspective, because there's not that many like couples. Marvel movies aren't known for their romance. There are some side stuff here, but that was a scene where I was like, yeah, this is serious. She's really thinking about what has to be done, and you get that again with Vision and Scarlet Witch.
Vision says the same thing to Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, but that was one of the most impactful for me. The scene where Peter Parker at the end disappears, dies, however you want to phrase it. I think is the consensus.
Ceases to exist.
was really heavy. I mean, too, they stretched that out. So when a lot of the characters were disappearing, they had maybe one word or not even a word, but he was able to have that connection with Tony Stark, and you have all these pieces together. We think there could have been because of his spider sense, or because
he felt he was vanishing either way beforehand, before everyone else, so he didn't feel good, or he was wearing his nano suit, which could have been trying to repair him as he goes. Could have been both.
So by far, I mean, that obviously was an emotional scene for the whole theater, and especially people that haven't read the comics or have any clue of what could potentially happen. Some people, honestly, I believe they walked in the movie not knowing that it was a two-parter.
I have some friends that did.
Oh god.
They were kind of like, why didn't the Avengers ever get together? It's like, calm down, there's another movie. There is? Yeah. Oh, okay.
And there's been a lot of connections made to, it's like Empire Strikes Back, or there's obviously a conclusion to the story. The story is concluded.
It very much ended.
Something happens at the beginning and it ends. But
Thanos' story is like set, or like that.
It's
piece
over.
Of
It's
his story
Thanos' story, as we talked about, and it ended with him getting his way.
Yeah. Very unexpected, but it does conclude. Let's get away from the emotional weight. Let's do a Drax eating the cuckoo nut, whatever, transition here. What was your favorite? Like, what was the most funny scene in the movie for you?
There was a lot.
There's a lot.
Going back to your favorite moment scene, that ends with Drax chewing on a nut, and they're like, "How long have you been standing there?" An hour. I can become invisible if I move slow. And then he tried, and
Mantis comes in.
Yeah.
Hi, Drax.
He's like, damn it. That was great.
Mantis is probably one of the most entertaining characters in the entire. I love how they handled her. In this movie.
She's background most of the time. You have to focus on her.
Yeah.
There was a few things you guys were mentioning that I missed because I didn't focus on her. I also enjoyed most of the scenes with the Guardians and Thor.
Those were by far my favorite.
He's like a pirate and an angel had a baby.
That's probably the consensus. That scene is going to go down as one of the best scenes in Marvel Universe.
Great scene.
No, I think I definitely agree. All of the Thor and the Guardians scenes were absolutely the best. Mantis is my favorite. I think she has so many moments. The scene where the Guardians gets to the kind of the Asgardian genocide massacre kind of thing, and Star-Lord goes, put your war faces on or whatever, and she's just in the background going, and you have to. I caught it the second time. If you watch it again, there's another shot where it's focused on Star-Lord and she's still blurry in the background, but she's still doing the face. And I'm just like, yes, I love her.
And this is a character that's almost single-handedly took down Thanos in the movie. It was her that was able to get to the point.
Going to that scene though, Doctor Strange could have ended the whole movie really quickly, which again would have been anticlimactic, but he has these magical teleporters that we've seen in the movie cut limbs off. Why didn't he just cut the gauntlet off?
Maybe that's only something that Wong knows, and that's why he's invited to Tony's wedding. All right, favorite action scenes. For me, one of the favorite comedy and action scenes was after Thor gets Stormbreaker. And he lands, he activates the Bifrost.
He summons the
Bifrost with the Stormbreaker, comes down to Wakanda and starts having havoc. But you have that one moment where Bruce Banner's like, "You're all in for it now, you're gonna get it." And that action sequence was amazing because
good.
He is the God of Thunder, and he does that scene again from Thor Ragnarok, where he turns into Raiden, Lord of Thunder, and his eyes are going crazy, and he does the boom and literally takes out that army.
That's great.
It was such a good scene. The big question for a lot of friends and viewers is what happens next. That fans, there's gonna be a lot of theories put in place. But everything's been recorded already. They're in post-production, so they already know what's happening.
So I'll take this one first because I'll admit that I'm not, I don't know the lore, so I can't give very specific details. But speaking in generalities, I think I mentioned already, most of the people who disappeared are probably going to come back. I think there's going to be a price to pay, whether it's, in the lives of the Phase 1 Avengers or whatever it is.
Yeah. So what I think is going to be very interesting is we obviously only have a year to wait on this, and you're already going to have the fan train trying to predict what's going to happen. My personal thing about what happens next, again, and going back to the whole concept of comic support and jumping on points for you, is there's a lot in the comics that can potentially drive the story as well. And what I would like to see, and my prediction, whether or not it comes right or not, is I would like to see what happens with the Soul Stone and the Soul Realm, because everybody all the reviews I've said when people are asking, oh, who stays dead, they're saying Gamora stays dead. I didn't have that effect, or Gamora stays dead. I didn't have that effect at all.
Different movie.
I think that she's connected to the Soul Stone.
I agree. I think
that she's live.
Part of it.
And if they have the new Avengers traveling in this soul realm and trying to figure things out, that'll put a lot of meat into the next movie, and also have the Black Panther fans still being, interested, the Spider-Man fans still being included.
Yeah.
I love the OG Avengers. I think they're going to do great. I think, Hawkeye's obviously going to come in. That's going to be an amazing piece to take a look at with him as Ronin. So those will be addressed, but you can't cover that in 2.5 hours. So that's my prediction. But we have a lot more to unpack. Thank you for nerding out with us. You can follow me at Leon Scorpius on Twitter if you want to geek out some more. Send me some direct messages because we want to. Again, Thanos demand your silence. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Tay. Thank you, SssuperB. Don't forget that Free Comic Book Day is coming up. So if you want to go to your comic book store and pick up Infinity Gauntlet or some of the other connecting comics to Avengers Infinity War, do that this upcoming weekend. It's going to be a good time for you. Thanks again.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want to watch more from us, click on one of the thumbnails. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up to date with our latest shenanigans. Be sure to click the bell for notifications, and check out the description below for a link to our Patreon page. See you next time!